Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. So, yes, go away. All right. So, why do we sleep? So, the EEG, uh, electroencephalogram, measures your brainwave pattern. So, we talk about sleep. Okay. So, your brain needs sleep for a couple of different reasons. One is to rest. Two is to properly um, allows for neurons and dendrites to grow and develop and stuff like that. So it's where you also transfer short-term memory into long-term memory. So there's a lot of physiological functions that allow that is necessary because or sleep is necessary for a lot of physiological functions. Okay. All right. So there are four stages of sleep. Okay. Uh, So there is REM sleep and non-REM sleep. And then the non-REM sleep, there's N1, N2, N3. Okay. Um, so in stages N1, N2, N3, um, these stages, there's less active brain work. Um, so the rapid eye movement sleep, the REM sleep, is where active dreaming takes place. Okay, so your brain activity inhibits the motor neurons and skeletal muscle, which then paralyzes them. Um, if you get woken up in the middle of that process, okay, occasionally your brain wakes up before the muscles do, and you feel like paralyzed. Like it's called sleep paralysis. It's terrifying, and that's where the legend of vampires and stuff. Part of their legend comes from where they paralyze you and suck your blood and stuff like that. That sleep paralysis. Okay. Okay. So let's look at what EEG looks like. We'll talk more about it. Okay. Okay. So here are the four stages of sleep. Okay. The deepest sleep, okay, uh, usually occurs within the first 3 hours. That's the most restful period of sleeping. Okay. Um, so the slow wave sleep is where delta waves are occurring. This is where it's the most restful. Okay. Uh, in a 20 to 30-minute power nap, what stage you never see REM sleep. REM sleep takes a while to kick in. Okay. All right. Physiological functions exhibit circadian rhythm patterns. Circadian rhythm is your 24-hour daily pattern, and it's controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus, um, and it's linked to release of melatonin. Okay, from the pineal gland. Okay, um, so disruptions affect mental and physical health. So again, if you work day shift and all of a sudden you work night shift, and you have to be awake in the middle of the night and sleeping during the day, is a pattern, right? So same as jet lag, right? If you ever travel to different countries, um, the day you travel and the day after is really hard because your circadian rhythm is still on US pattern and not on, China pattern or Korea pattern or wherever you guys end up going. Okay. All right. The limbic system. Okay. The limbic system is the center of emotion. Is a really complex thing. Okay, but basically, the hypothalamus really is the key regulator of all this stuff. Okay, and regulates the response. Okay, so here's the limbic system. Here's the cerebral cortex. Here's the sensory stimuli. Okay, and the limbic system feeds back on the cerebral cortex. Okay, and you can affect physiology that way. Like for example, if you're scared, you're fear is the number one emotion, really. If you're scared, your heart beats faster. Okay, you're more nervous, etc., etc. Like all of that is controlled here in the limbic system, controlled by cerebral cortex. Like, and so you can do that, right? You can consciously control your emotions a little bit. Okay, you can fake it, right? So you can imagine a scary movie or imagine falling off a building, etc., etc., right? Imagine what your life would be like if you failed this class. I bet your heart rates are pumping a little bit faster now, right? And that's because the cerebral cortex is influencing the limbic system, which is controlling the hypothalamus, which generates your autonomic response. Your heart beats faster. Okay. Okay. Moods are similar to emotions, but they're related to one sense of well-being, and they are overlasting. All right, mood disorders, especially depression, is the fourth leading cause of illness worldwide today. Depression actually affects a lot of people, and like depression medication is like the number one prescribed drug in the U.S. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. So again, depression affects sleep, affects mood, and libido, sex drive, and may affect functions at work, personal relationships, and antidepressant drugs actually alter synaptic transmission, which is how it treats depression. Okay. 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 Short-term memory, long-term memory. So there's a couple of types of short-term memory, a couple of types of long-term memory, but all of it requires sensory information and stored in short-term memory. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to remember a number, 2671. Okay, okay. So repeat the number. Okay, you should be able to do it right now. Okay. All right. So right now that information is in your short-term memory. Okay, you have the ability to locate it and recall it. Okay, and finally you can output it by saying the numbers. Okay, so eventually, if you want to, you can consolidate this into long-term memory. Okay, and there are different types of long-term memory. Okay, so the two types of long-term memory is split into reflexive and declarative. Reflexive is something that the recall is automatic and it doesn't require conscious attention, or like there's not the memory is more like, oh, you know how to ride a bike, you know how to tie a shoe. Like I'm sure all of you guys right now can tie your shoe without looking at it and without going through the steps, like when you're teaching a child, right? And the procedural memory can be a type of reflexive memory is a procedural memory, okay? And procedural memories can be demonstrated. Like I'm sure most of you guys know how to like ride a bike, and that is procedural memory. Okay. That nerve memory is like, hey, tell me your phone number. Tell me your address, right? These are declarative memories, and they're explicit. Okay, so I can explicitly express them, so I can say them, and also things are like, oh, what is 2 plus 2? Like, I'm sure you don't have to like count fingers 2 plus 2, and you already know that the number is 4. So that's an explicit. Okay. All right. Uh, Integration of the spoken language. Okay. Um, involves 2 regions, Wernicke area and Broca's area. So damage to these areas leads to aphasia. Okay. So Wernicke's area is receptive aphasia. You're unable to understand sensory input. So information coming into you comes in garbled. So you're not understanding what other people are saying to you. Okay. Um, Broca's area is expressive aphasia. You have difficult speaking or writing normal syntax, the words coming out are coming out wrong. You also have inability to understand complicated sentences with multiple elements because that is also processed through not just understanding, but you have to understand different parts and when they communicate, like bounce back and forth in regions of your brain, Broca's area is damaged, it doesn't make sense. So things like stand up, you do that. Okay. Stand up, turn around, do 3 jumping jacks, 20 push-ups, and and then do 5 burpees. That was not like it would be able to comprehend all that. Like the what because when you're thinking through it, you're processing that information bit by bit, um, and that is damage or work in Broca's area. Okay, Broca's area. The most important thing is the ability to speak. Okay, the easy way to remember this is broken. Okay, I'm sure for the Spanish people, Spanish speakers in the class, they already recognize that boca means mouth in Spanish. So like the is formation of language is a difficult thing. Okay. But the difference between Wernicke and Broca is receptive versus like expressive. Okay. Okay. So reading and hearing words all go through Broca's, Wernicke's area. Okay. Wernicke's area is so when you have damage in Wernicke's area, things that are coming in are garbled. It doesn't matter if it's hearing or reading. Okay, they both go through Broca's area for processing, or Wernicke's area for processing. Sorry, and therefore it comes out garbled. Okay, so you can see that here. Okay, so hearing words, see like so. This is the way a PET scan works. When it lights up on a PET scan, it means more blood is going to that region. More blood is going to that region because you're using that region. So indirectly, what you're seeing is what regions are being used. Okay, so seeing words, obviously the occipital lobe for vision. Okay, hearing words right there, speaking, you can see that's Broca's area right there, and then all this stuff. Okay. thinking about verbs and speaking them and all this like normal processing requires all three areas and communication between all these areas. Okay. Your personality is a combination of experience and inheritance, and it's all over the place, and it's way too complicated for this class. Okay. All right. Hope that makes sense to you guys.